All right, so a little bit of a different intro. I think you guys just heard an advertisement, or you should have, or maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but that's big news. We've been teasing it a little bit. If you saw us at the ballpark this weekend, we've been telling some people what's been going on. The boys are legit. Again, part two, we are joining the Foul Territory Network. That's right, Foul Territory. You guys see them over on YouTube. If you watch Bally Sports, you see them over there. Scott Braun, AJ Brzezinski, Eric Kratzev, Ken Rosenthal on the network. There's a lot of great people over there, and we are super excited to announce that we have joined up. They reached out, and it was a partnership that is just something both of us could not deny. It was really good and super excited. James, tell you a little bit more here.
I mean, just thrilled to be a part of it. Thank you to Scott. Thank you to Mark. Not this Mark, their Mark. Thank you to everybody over there. Thanks to Claudia. We had a nice meeting with her the other day. So just really excited to get going. Really happy that we can partner with them and deliver you guys more content. There's going to be more episodes coming out every week. We're going to have more access to guests, more access to some players maybe. We're just going to have a lot more access to ad sponsorships now, which is great for Mark and I. Keep the show moving. It's just, I think we're both incredibly excited. We're really happy to give you guys just simply more and better content.
Now, for those of you who have been around since the beginning, this is now the second network essentially we have joined, and you will remember when we were with the Mets, we said nothing would change, and a few things changed. A few things changed a little bit. There's actually nothing changing. The only thing that's going to be happening is you are going to be getting more content from us. We're still going to be doing episodes after every single series. That is not changing. We're going to continue to do that. But during the season, we will be adding a third episode, probably on Fridays, it seems like. We're not necessarily sure exactly what that third episode every week is going to look like, but there's a good chance that it's going to be prospect report talk. It's going to be more
interviews.
Interviews, different kind of content rather than recapping series and telling you guys what just happened and giving our input on that. So I think you guys are going to enjoy this. Again, nothing else is really changing. We're just now part of the Foul Territory Network, and we are super excited to get going, especially because the Mets are playing some damn good baseball. Really good stuff. A great series against the Reds this past weekend, taking 2 out of 3, and currently in the playoff spot. So we're vibing a little bit.
You still have to do the intro spiel, even though we did the whole intro.
I know. Well, yeah, right. I'm going to do that now before we get going into that.
There you go.
Make sure you follow us on all our social media. I'm sure there's some new people here. Oh, maybe I'm Mark. I'm Mark, by the way.
I'm James.
For the new people, in case you don't know us. But yeah, you can follow us on our social media at Mets'd, METSDUP, on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to see the YouTube version of this video of this podcast, go subscribe to the Mets'd podcast over on YouTube. You can go see our pretty faces. And if you are listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to the podcast, drop us a rating, drop us a review, and most importantly, download and subscribe. We've got access to numbers we never had before. And for some reason, there's a bunch of listeners on Apple, but nobody's downloading it. Download on Apple. If you're listening to it right now, I don't even know how you do it, but hit the download button. You Spotify people, you're great, and everybody else, you're great. Apple people, you're slacking.
Yeah, but Apple people, you guys give us the great reviews that we like to read out at the end of every episode. So still, if you guys leave us a review on Apple, we will read that. We will shout you out at the end of the episode. But now to get into this, another great weekend of Mets baseball. I think that the loss on Sunday dampened the shine of some of what's happened in the last week, but I still think us Mets fans, big picture, we've won 9 of our last 10 games. We are in the dead heat of the wild card race. If we didn't just go on this massive tear, might not be in the wild card race, but this was clutch. The team needed this win streak. The team needed the last 10 games they played. Really, again, they won 9 of them, even though they did lose the one game on Sunday. And things are great. Mark was in the park on Friday. I was in the park on Saturday. Absolutely electric atmosphere both nights. I mean, Mark seeing the Mark Vientos walk off. I saw a shutout after a rain delay. Like it was a tremendous weekend of Mets baseball. Another step on the path to getting to the playoffs here.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, listen, Mets went 9-1 in their last 10 games. Like that's basically all you could ask for at any point in the season for the Mets. Me and James came dangerously close to having to eat a pizza. We said it earlier in the year, 10-game win streak. We'd eat a pizza, and that's not good for us because I don't eat dairy. James, not a gluten man.
No,
so that would just wreak havoc on both of our bodies. But I would have been happy to have done so because it means the Mets are winning.
Yeah, bottom line, we're willing to do anything we can to support this team and keep this team moving. So it still stands. If we start a 10-game winning streak on Monday, Mark and I will still split any of the pizza. That's absolutely without fail will happen. But into the series now, I think that biggest thing I want to start with, what are you looking for? Is that a fly?
I just had like a ladybug fly right by my head.
It's kind of cute.
How does a ladybug even get in here? I don't got windows open.
I think that's really nice. But big thing to talk about, I think I want to start here because it's been something that truly saved the season. It's something that's really important. Fucking Mark Vientos.
Yeah.
What an absolute monster. What a clutch star this guy has turned into. Seemingly overnight this season, he has gone from AAA in May to someone who's right now possibly the favorite to win the Silver Slugger for the third baseman National League. He leads all third basemen in baseball in WRC plus. He leads them in OPS. I think maybe second now in WRC plus behind Jose, but still leads them in OPS in general. The 2 home runs on Friday to bookend that game, the 2-run homer in the first inning and the 2-run homer to win it in the 10th inning. It's beautiful. This is another game. I think we've said this countless times this season. We don't win this game if Mark Vientos isn't in the lineup, and that was one where we very much, absolutely, positively do not win that game if Mark Vientos is not in the lineup.
I mean, he literally took over that game from start to finish. Mark Vientos took that over with the early home run in the first inning and then the walk-off homer at the end of the game. Like you said, 149 WRC plus, best in Major League Baseball among third basemen in terms of in the league. Like that's insane because Jose Ramirez is having MVP caliber season. Rafael Devers is having an MVP caliber season again because the dude just continues to hit. And Mark Vientos' numbers have been even better. The dude's put up 3 WAR and in 93 games with those 24 homers, 62 RBIs. I mean, he's just been phenomenal. And like you said, the growth that we've seen from Mark Vientos, this is a guy that both of us were a little bit down on at the beginning of the year just because what we saw in prior seasons was he couldn't hit the fastball. He was chasing a lot. His swing decisions weren't great. But whatever happened this spring training, going into AAA and then getting the call up, completely changed his approach, completely changed the hitter that he is. And he still has that amazing pop that he always had.
Yeah, the pop is the one thing that it's like as a baseline, as a starting point for a hitter like Vientos. Like you have that, now we just have to tweak around the edges. And the tweaks around the edges did come from those things we said. Defense, we saw that him and Lindor were working together through almost the entire offseason, it seemed like, down in Florida very early, the two of them working on his hands. And Mark Vientos, I still don't think he's exactly a standout defender, but I think he's still he's the defender that when he's a very capable defender. When he's hitting the way he's hitting, it's not super critical for him to like defend with the best of them. And he's hitting well enough right now to be the 3-hitter on a team with one of the better lineups in the National League, just to give a sense of that whole thing. And then the key with Vientos too, like you said, swing decisions and approach against velocity. I had a tweet about Vientos that I was almost upset about how viral it went in spring training because I was scared that that's the kind of tweet that like the player might see. It had like a couple 100,000 impressions. I was like, I tweeted how bad Mark Vientos is against velocity because it was the day he got cut from the team. So I wanted to be like, this is why he got cut from the team. And this is from March 24th. In 2023, Mark Vientos faced 131 pitches that were thrown at least 95 miles an hour. His slash line was 184, 273, 447 against them, with a 36% whiff rate, a 42% chase rate, and a 30% in-zone contact rate. The whiff rate well above the league average, chase rate well above the league average, in-zone contact rate well below league average. And then when you just take that sample and just tighten it for fastballs, 97 of those 131 pitches are fastballs, and all of those stats got significantly worse. Do you want to hear the stats this season against pitches 95 miles an hour? Right? Yeah. So 205 as of the end of the game on Friday. 205 pitches he's faced, 95 miles an hour or harder. A 352, 417, 667 slash line. So an OPS that's nearly 1,100. 28% whiff rate, 32% chase rate, 37% in-zone contact rate. So the in-zone contact rate is still about league average, but where he came from, that's amazing. And he's swinging and missing far less, expanding the zone far less. Everything you kind of think just trickles down from there because when you can start the at-bat and not be blown away by a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, which is the league average, most of the guys are throwing that, it puts you in a great spot, and we're just seeing everything come together from that foundation upwards.
Yeah, and when you're Mark Vientos and you have a 95th percentile in barrel rate and you hit the ball 113, 110, 112 miles an hour, making contact is the key. And he's just been smashing the ball all over the yard. Again, Friday, it was so electric. The vibes in the stadium were so good. To get the game started with the home run, got everybody going from the start, which was great. And then there was a little bit of a lull in between. Sean Manaea gave up the home run to Ellie De La Cruz, hand up on me. I jinxed it. I was saying Ellie doesn't really have that great of a right-handed swing. And Ellie De La Cruz does what he does, which is...
You want to know something about that home run from Ellie, though?
I do. Yeah, give me something.
That was his first homer in 16 games and his second overall in 6 weeks.
So I was kind of right. I mean, if there is a hole in his game, it is his right-handed swing against left-handed pitching. Like, that's been known. He's been sad against lefties a lot of the time this year.
Could you imagine if that's the hole in his game and he was able to hit a 413-foot home run, 111 miles an hour, off right now probably the second hottest left-handed pitcher in baseball, maybe third, I guess?
Pretty impressive. He's pretty dang good.
Yeah, it's the 2 Cy Young Award winners and then Sean Manaea right now as the 3 hottest left-handed pitchers in baseball. But so, yeah, you're right. And also, this happened as Steve Gelbs came on the broadcast, all move face on SNY, and all he was talking about is how great Manaea has been, especially at mitigating hard contact, keeping the ball in the ballpark. And literally, as he's giving his expose, the home run happens, and he's in the middle of it, and he doesn't stop. That's professional work by Gelbs. And then Gary comes on the mic and was like, I know the De La Cruz guy just saw a home run, 2-run homer, tied this game up. I was like, damn it. But still, still a good start from Manaea overall. I'm not gonna take away from him in that one.
Yeah, he was human. I think that was a more human start than what we've seen recently, where he's been going 7 and striking out 11. Like, that's not going to happen every single start. But again, kept us very much in the game. The offense this weekend in general wasn't as good as it has been. I feel like the last few series, it really was Mark Vientos on Friday. On Saturday, it was a little bit different too. But
a little bit of everything.
At the end of the day, things worked out. Things were good. And shout out to the bullpen as well, holding it down. It got a little bit tight, but they did a good enough job to keep us in the series all weekend.
Yeah, we'll talk about some more bullpen stuff in a little bit. But Manaea, do you want another thing about Manaea that's crazy?
I do want to know another thing.
Most innings pitched in baseball since July 1st.
I mean, is that almost the exact date you said that he can't go
that
more
he's
than
a 5 and dive, clean 5 and dive? Because before then, he had not gone over 7 innings. And since then, I think he's gone over 7 innings now 9 times, which is the most in baseball. And that was his 6th start since July 1st with at least 9 strikeouts, which I think is even crazier for like the growth of what Manaea has done. And we've talked about this in a few episodes where he's lowered his release points, got more deception on his changeup, got more rising action on his 2-seamer, which sounds counterintuitive, but that release point is now so low that 2-seamer, like kind of like what Hader does sometimes, like comes in on the left-handed hitters and every hitter really. But I love this guy. I'm not going to hold that second home run against him because it's like the problem is that it's so different than what was happening with Sean Manaea in the beginning of the year, where we were trying to push in the 7th inning because we know he can do the 7th inning. We want him to do the 7th inning. He's strong enough to get to the 7th inning. So now in that 7th inning, he gives up the home run. It's like, damn it. I guess what he gets for TJ Friedl, who, again, classic jinx by me. Shout him out before the series. A good little ball player. Does a lot of things well. Underrated in the league for sure, but still found a way to do it.
I had an amazing story from the Friday night game. I don't know if I told you this or not. We've been hanging out a little bit this weekend, as we normally do. But I was sitting over in right field, and Jake Fraley went to make that diving catch on the ball down the line. And he almost made a phenomenal play. It rolled out of his glove as he rolled over. There was this 8-year-old kid that was on the railing of that seat, like directly above Jake Fraley, giving him shit. Nonstop. He was like, "Nice catch, idiot!" Like screaming like obscenities at him.
That would have been such a good catch.
He was like an 8-year-old kid, and I was like, "Wow, this is Mets baseball right here. I love this. I love when the kids are getting into it like that too."
Yeah, we have our buddy TJ Stats coming on at the end of the episode to help us preview the Blue Jay series. I wonder what the catch probability on that one was. Truthfully, probably not good.
Sure
also, that was funny because that was the first hit the Mets had against Brandon Williamson in this game, which was so incredibly frustrating. The fact that
frustrating.
It felt like this whole win streak for the Mets that I saw someone tweet this in the Mets community that they were winning every game by the end, but every single game that's felt like they were hitless through 4, which is just kind of frustrating situation. But it was annoying, especially again because it happened again on Saturday and again on Sunday where we weren't hitting these like very middling to be nice red starting pitchers. But I guess Brandon Williams was the bulk guy, came in after the opener, but still did just enough to win this game because of Mark Vientos.
Yes. Now you were at the ballpark on Saturday, and I believe you met someone very special.
I did. I met someone very special. You guys hopefully saw it on Twitter. New listeners, this is going to be a weird one for you guys to wrap your minds around. But I met the legend Frankie Peppers. It was a wonderful experience, wonderful excursion. The bolognese was delicious. Frankie was just everything I could have asked for and more. So happy to have him be a small part of the show now going forward. It's the best. Also met my guy Rob. I met Scott. I met Rich. I met two other dudes. Someone just yelled at me in the concourse. I never saw who you were, but I was just walking through, but back to left field where my seats were, and someone was like, "Mets'd, fuck yeah!" I was like, "Who just said that?" And I was like, "But yeah, I don't know." So a hero in the night. I met 2 other kids that really liked your channel, so that's how they found us. I was just like talking to people, and then one kid was like, "Are you James?" Messed up. I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "What's up? How you doing?" And their dad was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just funny, good interaction." But Saturday vibes are great. A lot of credit to the Citi Field faithful for sitting through a crazy rain delay. Because there was no rain in New York all day. And then for about 20 minutes, the heavens gates opened up and it was a torrential downpour. And I was late getting to the ballpark, of course. And that rain was happening during my walk from the train to the stadium. So I just ducked like on one of those like awnings, like the stone awnings, like right next to the stadium between like the home plate entrance, the Hodges entrance. Met a couple friends there, had a nice time, waited out the storm for half hour, walked in, got a visit, and just had a wonderful day.
Yeah, no, I mean, and listen, it was a little bit of a strenuous start to the game because they couldn't hit Jacob Junis, who I feel like owns the Mets. I feel like this isn't the first time he's pitched really well against us. I'm going to
check real quick.
You're going to check it? But yeah, I mean, he went 5 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 5 Ks, and that's a little bit frustrating. But I guess Junis is having a decent little year at 2.80 ERA this season.
Decent little career for Jake Junis, for a guy that only goes sinker slider, and mixes in the 4-seamers against the lefties. But I think Junis got really fortunate by the rain. I think Jose Quintana did too. We'll talk about him in a second. Because there were so many well-hit fly balls in this game the first few innings that died on the warning track, that just stopped moving there. Francisco Lindor put 3 there himself, or maybe 2 and someone else, can't remember right now. But Yeah, it was a frustrating game, but it was one that it was like there was confidence the whole time the Mets were going to find a way to pull through.
And again, big tip your cap moment to David Bell of the Cincinnati Reds because he took out Williamson. We immediately scored. He took out Jacob Junis. Sam Mole comes into the game, can't get an out. Also, shout out us. We were talking about Sam Mole as a fun little lefty in the
Yeah, we
bullpen.
were.
Didn't get a single out. 3 earned runs, no outs.
Jacob Junis against the Mets in his career. You ready for this?
Yes.
19 and a third innings pitched for 3-1 record, 2.33 ERA, 0.72 WHIP.
There it is. I mean,
Unbelievable.
he's a Cy Young pitcher when he pitches against the Mets.
Unreal. How'd that even happen? Oh my god! But I think it was a lot because there were so many fly balls. It's rainy day, wet balls, wet bats, like wet air. It's just a lot of things just died up there and couldn't really blast through it.
Yeah, but again, lucky. Shout out Harrison Bader. All he does is hit home runs now when he gets hits. Hit another one off of Sam Mole. Opposite field, too, which I didn't know Bader had that in him. I didn't think that was capable.
Bader, he had some great quotes after the game, too, just saying, like, they were like, how do you feel about the way you're playing lately? He's like, honestly, I do not care. I'm here to help the team win. I don't care about my stats. He's like, I'm playing good defense. I'm going to get my bat on the ball when I can. He's like, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to keep helping us win because that's what I'm here to do.
He really does play phenomenal. He's fun to watch play center field. He's in control and gets to everything and makes so many good plays. This is like the super not sexy side of baseball, but for baseball people, like baseball fans like us who are listening to this podcast and talking about it, you love that kind of stuff.
I've never seen a backpedal as confident as Harrison Bader.
So
Because genuinely, if you ever see a player backpedaling, especially like as quickly as Bader backpedals, it's usually before something horrible happens. Usually before a baseball folly. I think we've sadly seen Lucas do the Met Ledge and fall on his ass a few times when he got used to try to play left and right field. But not Bader. Bader's super in control. Also, I want to give a lot of credit to Quintana. He's kind of brought up the nose of the ship in the last few starts here. Really good. The changeup was I was watching this game from the outfield, so I think it's a really good spot to see a changeup because that thing was just ducking and ducking and ducking and ducking all day long, falling off table. It was really amazing. And now looking on Baseball Savant, it had 8 whiffs on 13 swings, and that was his pitch that he kept going to. And he did a little bit of David Peterson in this game, where he was like the fastball, the sinker, the changeup, the curveball, mix them all different sides of the plate, and it was beautiful to see.
Yeah, Jose Iglesias, another big hit in this one, too, getting the double couple hits. We also have to talk about the fact that he's now going to be playing every day because Jeff McNeil got hit in the arm on Friday night.
Wrist,
fractured his wrist, out for the season, which is unfortunate because Jeff has been playing so well. And the versatility he gives us by being able to play second base and any outfield position is phenomenal. But now Jose Iglesias is going to be thrown into this lineup every single day. And he did step up on Saturday, 2 for 4. Like, we got the news that McNeil's out for the year. Iglesias is going to be playing every day, and he did a good job. We also have to talk about the call-up because McNeil gets sent down. A lot of people were wanting Luis Angel Acuna to be called up. A lot of people maybe wanted Drew Gilbert to be called up. I think both of those would have been good options. They ended up going the safe route. DJ Stewart. What do we think about that? I wasn't a huge fan of the safe, boring play by any means.
I think that end of the day, and I agree in this sense that this Mets team needed a left-handed hitter on the roster as like a bench complement. I think a lot of people have soured on DJ Stewart tremendously this season, but I also think that of all the hitters in the minor leagues, because there's a lot of people even clamoring for Luke Ritter. I was arguing with the Luke Ritter person I mentioned. It's just like, I don't know. We've watched with our eyes DJ Stewart get blazing hot at the major league level. Like, it's something that has happened. There's a tangible time where DJ there was a month where DJ Stewart was basically the best hitter in the Mets last year. Yeah, it happened. He put the freaking Hubba Bubba on his head there. But I don't hate it in that sense because I think at the end of the day, bottom line, you need a left-handed hitter. So Acuna's a righty. He's not a switch hitter. So I think that kind of knocked him off. You kind of brought up Pablo Reyes as like the bench speed infield guy. So I think that Acuna would be erroneous. I do think that there's a world where Jose Iglesias doesn't continue to hit at this well above league average rate that he's hit the whole year. Even the last month for Iglesias has been much colder than the first 2 were. So I think that if that becomes an issue, then maybe you do that. But I don't know. I don't hate it. If it was me personally, just for the sense of lightning in a bottle, just for the sense of someone who has this crazy energy and for someone who's left-handed bat, I would have loved to see Drew Gilbert do this. I've been saying this podcast all year. If Drew Gilbert didn't pull that hamstring, I think he would have been in this team a lot earlier, much sooner. He would have gotten every single Ben Gamble at bat, who's kind of crushing with the Astros. But that's neither here nor there.
Don't worry about that. Yeah,
not worried. Because Drew Gilbert's also having a really weird year in AAA, where you guys all see the highlights that everyone posts on Twitter. We're like, Drew Gilbert had another home run. Drew Gilbert had another home run. Drew Gilbert another home run. But he's not getting any actual hits. It's only home runs, which is funny. So part of me thinks that, like, okay, he's running like a ridiculously low BABIP. I think he has like a 120 batting average on balls in play. Unsustainable. That will go up. But I also think that the center Drew Gilbert, knowing that what the run environment is in AAA right now, how the ball flies in AAA. He's like, I'm gonna fucking sell out for power. I know if I want to get in the major league team, they need power. That's what they need. They want to see home runs. So maybe he's over indexing himself doing that, but still at the end of the day, I can't kill the Mets for DJ Stewart. It's not sexy, it's not fun, but I think in terms of a tangible baseball move, especially because Gilbert would need to be added to the 40-man roster.
Yes.
And there wasn't a clear and obvious 40-man position player to get rid of. I don't think that any this Mets team is in position right now to just start to dump an asset for free as we're in the home stretch here. So again, but Jeff could have gotten 60-day IL.
Yeah, I guess he could have.
I guess maybe not, because you make a playoff run, he comes back. Because I also think that's part of this.
That's true.
I think people got stuck with Jeff being bad from the beginning of the year. Jeff McNeil's been awesome.
So good.
2 months now. Since July 1st, I tweeted this too. 271, 353, 506, triple slash with 8 homers. A higher second half WRC plus than Shohei Ohtani. So just to get, it's true. I mean, that's one of those guys is an MVP candidate, and the other one Shohei Ohtani. So, but just there's a Jeff McNeil had been playing really good baseball. He's a really important part of the bottom of this lineup, and his defense has been great at multiple positions. The most versatile player on the roster. I think that's where this loss really, really hurts, and why the DJ Stewart thing feels like an incomplete addition rather than like something to get excited about.
Yeah, it's probably hard to like rationalize the idea of McNeil, DJ Stewart, that replacement, just because they don't do the same thing nearly at all.
Yeah, no, not close. But and again, I think it's simply a left-handed bat.
Yes, no, it definitely is that, and he has pop. He has pop, pinch hitter.
Yeah, lefty with pop, and he can run like a little bit.
Gets on base.
He does get on base. I don't know. Again, he's not playing every day like it was beginning of the year.
No,
we don't have to be worried about that one right now, guys. But it's not sexy, but it's not. I don't know. It's not. The sky's not falling because we didn't call up a prospect.
Let's talk about the other thing that happened in this game too. Edwin Diaz being used in a 4-0 game, back-to-back days.
No.
What? No. Wait. The 4-0 game wasn't back-to-back. Yeah, Friday
was
tie game. But I'm saying being used on a back-to-back day on Saturday in a 4-0 game, not being available on Sunday.
Yeah.
We now know on Sunday, Phil Maton blew the game. First time in a while he's really looked human for the Mets, so you can't really get on him. But what do we think about the managerial decision there to go with Diaz again?
I think that I feel bad that Mendoza's been put in the situation where Edwin Diaz is so erratic and inconsistent this year. And I think that's just because he's still getting back from the injury. I had a conversation with my buddy Ryan, was at the game with him on Saturday, and we were just kind of lamenting whether it be injury, whether it be a contract dispute, whether it be a suspension. If you're a professional athlete, to stop playing your sport for an extended period of time and then to play it again, this game is going to move fast. Like, it's going to be hard to get this stuff together, especially the level Edwin Diaz was pitching at. He was pitching, he had a 1-year stretch where he was one of the best relievers in history of baseball statistically. So just to get back, it's hard to get back on that rhythm. And I think rhythm has been the big thing with Edwin, because he had those bad couple games on the West Coast trip when he was getting up and down, up and down, up and down. And this game, he got up. So on Saturday, if he gets up, he's up. And that's kind of been the MO with Edwin of late. And as that's been the MO with him of late, he's looked much more disgusting. The velocity's up. He's getting more swings and misses in the slider. Command is better across the board. So I can't really fault Mendoza in that moment. But the only other thing was that the Mets scored all 4 of their runs in this game in 1 inning.
Yeah.
So it was a 4-run game throughout. So that is the one point where I'm like, this Reds offense has been anemic the whole series. They've been anemic for months now. They were anemic again on Sunday, besides for a Santiago Espinal bloop double that cost them the game. So I think that, I don't know. It's easy to play Monday morning quarterback. Hindsight's always 20/20. So like now it's like, oh yeah, I really wish Edwin Diaz could have pitched the tie game on Saturday because he pitched the tie game on Friday and win that game. But I can't fault him, but also think like maybe the way some of these other guys in the bullpen have been pitching, it wouldn't have been the worst idea. Because it doesn't make sense in a game where Adam Ottavino gets an out in the 7th inning and then you give Danny Young the 8th. Be Edwin Diaz. You know what I mean? Like if you're using the B and C team bullpen and then you go to the closer, that to me didn't compute. That didn't seem like a logical progression of relievers being used. Yeah, no, I can get behind that. I thought the same thing. It felt weird, but I mean, at the end of the day, they won the game. You guaranteed that win. It's like the whole conversation of like win the game in front of you versus thinking about the next day. And like, let's be honest about on Sunday, but didn't really deserve to win that game on Sunday either. Like they pitched really well. I don't think either team deserved to win that game. That was a bad baseball game. Yeah, I mean, Severino was fantastic on the mound. Really good. And again, because Luis Severino is fucking awesome. But like at the plate, talk about anemic. The Mets were anemic. They had 4 hits. Lindor, the on-base streak is over. Unfortunately, it's come to an end, but he's been incredible, obviously. And then and the irony in this game on Sunday, Lindor, the hardest hit ball in the game. Of course, that's how it works. That's baseball. Yeah. But Iglesias got a hit, Marte got a hit, and Harrison Bader had 2 hits. Go figure. But that was pretty much it for the offense from this team. Like there just wasn't a lot on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, shout out Luis Severino. Another game where he leaned on the sweeper and the pitch was filthy and pushed him to a good start. I dropped you guys a stat a month ago. Still rough tracking it by hand. When he throws that sweeper at least 15% of the time, we're looking at about a 15% strikeout minus walk rate and ERA that's about 3. And when he throws it fewer than 15% of the time, it's a strikeout minus walk rate around 7 and ERA around 4.5. So he's a significantly different pitcher when he throws that sweeper more because he misses tons of bats. It's fully lethal against right-handed batters. And also in this game, Severino, talk about getting stronger as the year goes on. Threw his hardest pitch of the season, 99.5 miles an hour. TV said it was 100. We don't round up pitcher velocity as the Mets'd podcast. That's a flag that Mark and I plant in the ground. We do not round up. I think he might get a real 100 this year, but seeing him throw that two-seamer 99.5, that's disgusting.
If we rounded up, I'd be 6 feet tall.
There you go. I would too, technically.
It would 5'6", right? That's halfway.
5'6.5". Why not, right?
Yeah,
But it's the first time all the listeners heard my height. Every time I meet someone, they're like, "A lot shorter than I thought." I'm like, "Yeah, thanks, dude."
5'9" for me, just in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah. Also, Severino was still pumping 97 in the 7th inning of this game. So and he lost the lead in a little dinky bloop single from Noel V. Marte. But it's just he seems to be getting better as the year goes on. I'm really happy to give him the ball in tough series, and he's lining up to face the Phillies in Philly next weekend. Yeah. The game on Saturday, I might be at. It's possible. My family's going to be there. I'm going to see if I can swing it, shoot the gap for my one day weekend off from work. But he's great. It's just they didn't play well enough to win. If you can't hit Julian Aguilar, you probably shouldn't win.
No, definitely shouldn't. If you can't hit Tony Santillan and you can't hit Emilio Pagan and Justin Wilson, who low-key throwing 97.
Kind of gas.
Where the hell did that come from with Justin Wilson? Did he ever throw 97 with the Mets?
Not with the Mets, but I think he has had that in his career.
Okay.
But
and then
Aguilar, same as Junis the day before. Sinker, slider. So much on the hands. If this was a game played in Great American Ballpark, Mets have 5 runs. 6 maybe. But that's just different. These guys probably can't wait to get out of there and pitch in a place like Citi Field where you can just fly balls are caught by outfielders. Who knew?
Must be nice. And shout out Reed Garrett. He's continuing to look really, really good.
I was loading up the Reed Garrett stats right now. Full 180. He's back to throwing strike one, which is a big deal for him. And he's still throwing with all different pitches, which I also think is really, really important. And I think he's willing to give up a little bit more hard contact now than he was at the beginning of the year, because just by getting that strike one, letting his fielders do some work, because once he gets strike one, he has so many weapons as a reliever that the hitters have no idea what's coming next. The fact that Splitter is it's diving against missing bats. He might have just not really been that healthy when he was cold. I
think he might have been hurt.
Probably a big part of it, but the sweeper's really good right now. The color's really good right now. He's using them all a lot. Splitter, like I said, disgusting. Not afraid to throw the fastball or the two-seamer right now, so I'd like that a lot. He looks tremendous again. He's someone who, with Jose Budo, I think we're much more comfortable with our late inning setup now than we were 2 weeks ago.
We also have a new addition to the bullpen, as we talked about earlier. Tyler McGill.
Yeah.
It is happening. He is now officially in the bullpen. This is something me and James have been clamoring for years on years. Just seems like a better fit for him right now, especially with what we've been seeing.
There was a quote, Will Salmon had the piece that he's available out of the bullpen starting today. And they said presumably in a long relief role, but I think once we get into a situation, we'll see. Also, again, nice to have him in a long relief role. We haven't really had a long man this whole year. So happy that Tyler could be the sponge and soak up those innings in the middle when we need them. But I really would love to see what he could do, similar to what exactly we've just seen all of us with our eyes with Jose Budo. Here's 40 pitches, gas it up, get to 98, drop those sliders, drop a curveball, and see what you can do. Because I think there's some serious upside in Tyler McGill there. I'll never quit with that fastball. I'll never quit.
Can't do it. We saw Ryan Nelson. Ryan Nelson's been great.
He's got awesome.
That fastball.
Yeah, best start on Sunday. But look, the last 2 months have been literally one of the best pitchers in baseball. When you have that fastball, it's so much easier to branch things off that fastball, which McGill's really tried to do. But just, again, we're seeing it right now, David Peterson, guys, too. It just takes pitchers a long ass time sometimes. Yes. It really does. David Peterson, when did he first come up? 2020?
Yeah, I think it was 2020, right?
And 2020, then he pitched good in 2020, bad in 21, got injured. Really good in 22 again, then bad in 23, got injured again. Now this year, healthy, good again. So sometimes pitchers oscillate so much. That's why I love pitching so much. It's because things change all the time, and you got to be aware of them. That's how you spot the new stuff.
And again, as things stand in the National League playoff standings, the Mets are technically tied right now with the Atlanta Braves, 78 and 65. 1 game back from the Diamondbacks, probably going to be 1.5 games now, because it looks like they're going to beat the Astros at the time of recording, and the Padres are 2 games up on the Mets. So there is a ton of room to still be had. There are still a bunch of games left. We got the Blue Jays series coming up here, and we're going to do a preview with our boy Thomas Nestico, a.k.a. TJ Stats. Anything else to talk about here before we hit that preview?
I'm down to talk 2 more minutes about this wildcard race, because I think that we've had a lot of people talking to us on Twitter, people writing in reviews and stuff. We got some voicemails. We do voicemails also, guys, so keep an eye out for our voicemail episodes. But I think that we've all seen so much baseball that we know really any of these four teams can fall off and miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to be like sadistic about like the negative about the Mets, but anyone, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the Braves, and the Mets, everyone right now can miss the playoffs.
I mean,
No one is safe.
even the Phillies are playing horrendous baseball. Not that they're going to miss the playoffs by any means. They're in the playoffs. They're going to the postseason. But like the good teams are even struggling at times. They just got their pants beat off by the Marlins.
10-piece by the Marlins. And literally all of a sudden, the whole year, oh my God, the Dodgers, what's going on? Again, they're back to the best record in the National League. They're close to the best record in baseball. I think that's going to wind up just being everything it always was. But it's so close right now. No one is safe. That's why the series we just played in San Diego and Arizona were so important. That's why it was great that we hold the tiebreaker over both those teams. We have 3 in Atlanta in 2 weeks that
I might be there for those.
Yeah, Mark wants to go. I might sign up too. We're going to see how that week goes. But God, it's just it's so tight. We've seen this before. 3 weeks of baseball left. It's every single game is so important. We were watching football today and locked into the Padres game and Braves extra innings on the second monitor because like we can't miss anything. And of all these teams in this mix, the Mets are playing a little bit of the best ball right now of these 4 teams. The Mets are pitching well. The Mets are hitting well. The Mets are playing good defense. I'm going to miss Jeff McNeil the rest of the year a lot, but I truly think from the bottom of my heart that Francisco Lindor and Jose Iglesias are the crispiest, smoothest double play combo in baseball right now. Their hands cumulatively are insane. They turned a double play on Saturday. It was the first, second inning where Jose Iglesias dove for a ball up the middle, turn around, flipped to Francisco Lindor. I didn't even think they were going to get 1 out, and they wound up with 2 outs. Quintana was pumping his fist. Also, shout out Jose Quintana, first Colombian-born pitcher in the history of baseball, 200 career wins.
Awesome. Shout out Jose Quintana.
Tremendous achievement for that. It's an amazing thing to see. Not a lot of Colombians in the league, but it's so beautiful to watch these 2 guys play. I was with a friend who doesn't really pay that much attention to baseball. They were like, those guys' hands are unbelievable. I was like, hell yeah, they are.
Dude, that was like Paul Blackburn's first start out in L.A. or whatever when he was going up against them, and Jose Iglesias and Lindor turned those double plays. And I'm like, he's got to be like, oh my God, I have fielders behind me. I'm not in Oakland anymore. This is amazing.
Yeah, and I think it's the wrap of the week. It's a good week for the Mets. Really good week for the Mets. Happy to see Danny Young, Reed Garrett, these guys fill in the bullpen, look good. Nice things happening. The Jeff injury stinks, but let's just keep playing ball. Next man up, like always.
Good week for the Mets, the boys too. All right, let's go ahead and talk to our boy TJ Stats, Thomas Nestico, little Blue Jays preview.
All right, guys, we have a very special interview right now. A friend to help us preview the Blue Jays series and just talk pitching because, of course, I want to do that all day long, every single day. It's Thomas Nestico. You guys might know him as TJ Stats on Twitter. Probably right now, one of the best, if not the best baseball account that's active and moving. So, Thomas, TJ, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me on the pod today. Just a regular old day here, sharing some pitching summaries. Already a few games going on, and it's just glad to be here.
I mean, for those of us watching or listening, you'll see Thomas has got the Blue Jays jersey on, as we know. Big Blue Jays fan. Series with the Blue Jays coming up here. Very weird season for them as a whole. And as a Mets fan, we don't really get to hear from Blue Jays fans too often because you guys are north of the border. What's been the whole vibe with the team this year? I mean, you guys thought you were going to trade Vlad Jr. at one point. Now it seems like he's never going to leave.
Yeah, this year's been a tough one. I thought they were going to be at least playoff contenders entering the season. I kind of had them maybe even like close to winning the division, but now that's kind of, even at the end of like April, we kind of figured out that wasn't going to happen. The bullpen has been a disaster the whole season. I know the Mets have had some bullpen woes, but if you've seen the Blue Jays this year, you're lucky that you don't have their bullpen because like Romano's been pretty much missed the whole season. They traded away basically any other good arm they had. The hitting recently, it's actually been heating up a bit since the All-Star break. They're I think like top 10 in the league in WRC plus, basically any batting metric out there. But again, their pitching still seems to not be very consistent. They lost Manoah, they traded away Kikuchi, and again the vibes I think recently have been all right because there's a bunch of young guys playing, which is always fun to see. Get your rookies out there, some prospects, but to the extent of that, the only batters really worth watching are Vladdy and Varsho. Really, Varsho's been not really known for his bat, but at least he's an entertaining fielder. But again, Vladdy's just Vladdy. He's having the best season of his career, which is crazy after that insane MVP caliber season he had a few years ago. And it's just he's a blast to watch. Just nothing else is. So
I wound up watching a lot of Blue Jays games because I got put on a lot of East Coast games and I cover them for Roll the World. So yeah, I've probably watched more games than even half the Blue Jays fans have over the last 3 months of the season. And Mark always makes fun of me because I say I like weirdly a lot of these young dudes who are playing every day in the Blue Jays. Will Wagner, Ernie Clement, Spencer Horwitz, Leo Jimenez. So is there any hope for you think any of those guys I just named or someone I didn't name to become like an actual contributor on a future Blue Jays playoff team?
I think from the names there, Horwitz is probably like the main guy I'm most comfortable and confident in. He has a fantastic approach. The power seems to be at least present. When the AAA wasn't hitting for too much power, but at least it seems like he has a little bit of pop. Wagner, it seems like the Jays love getting those former, I guess, players in the '90s, their children coming and play. But yeah, Wagner's been good since being called up. Barger, he's seems that he's kind of progressing well. He had a pretty rough early start when he got called up, I think around June this year, but it seems he's been turning it around. But yeah, I think the young bats are they could definitely be like major league players. Like Ernie Clement has shown us this year that he could be a serviceable second baseman, shortstop in the future, and his I guess his contact skills are great. Like he's about a 100 WRC plus. He's an average hitter, but his defensive capabilities, he's could be like a 2-3 WAR player in the future. Which is pretty good as even just a like a utility infielder. And like again, players like Leo Jimenez, he's been all right too. Unfortunately, Aurelvis Martinez, I was really excited when he got called up, and then within days, he's
Hours.
suspended for like 80 games. I'm like, I think it was on my birthday he got suspended. So I checked my phone. I saw the Jeff Passan tweet. I'm like, what?
Happy
What do you
birthday.
mean? Like, oh my
Now?
God. But yeah,
Okay.
I that was crazy. But the Blue Jays bats, at least their farm team, they seem to have a pretty good kind of influx. I think they'd actually probably trade away some of their younger bats for some pitching help this year because their pitching, the farm team decimated. They're like it's sad. Thank God they got Jake Bloss at the deadline. He's probably their best prospect right now. And then yeah, I guess you have Savage too. I don't think he's pitching this year, so I won't be able to get any data on him. But he seemed to be highly regarded during the draft. But other than that, it's looking rough for at least in the pitching department for the Blue Jays. But at least next year they'll still have kind of the same five starting pitchers they have this year, which I think they can kind of run it back with hopefully average pitching, but the batting really needs to step it up. And the bullpen, that's easy to replenish. They just got to figure out what to do when it gets to that in the off season.
So from that pitching, Mets are scheduled to face someone who I like a lot, who I think you like a lot too, Bowden Francis in this
There
coming
it
series.
is.
Is Bowden Francis, is this real? Is he quite a good pitcher, or is this somewhat a mirage, or is he just something in between?
Definitely not as good as he was in August. I don't think
Oh, yeah.
anyone other than
0.3
I
whip,
think
yeah.
this I think the stretch is like the only pitcher to ever do this in the past like 30 years is Clayton Kershaw. Like
Nice.
that 4 or 5 game stretch we ever had. But I think the changes he did make were pretty meaningful. I was reading, I think it was an article by Lance Brzdowski covering how Francis kind of changed up his pitch mix and also added in a sinker. So he's still going with that heavy fastball about 50% of the time, but then he started throwing more splitters in. And
Yeah.
essentially what we've seen, like splitters are basically like the God pitch. Like if you throw a splitter, you're probably going to do better than if you didn't throw a splitter. And so he's kind of mixing in those a lot more, adding that sinker to attack righties a bit better, and also lessening that curveball usage. I guess we can kind of see what happened with Kikuchi as well. He was lowering his curveball usage in Toronto before he got traded to Houston, but then in Houston he kind of just completely stopped throwing his curveball, and now he's been one of the best pitchers since the deadline. So I don't think there was anything really that the Jays weren't doing right. It seemed like they were understanding that throwing the curveball less was important and see through the trends of his usage throughout the month. And going to Houston, a better pitcher's park, I think probably just amplified his kind of success. And he was definitely way unluckier earlier this year. Like last year, he was fantastic in Toronto. This year, he was good to start, and then June and July kind of just faltered a bit, and kind of righted the ship in after the trade deadline. But yeah, Francis, I really like him. It was fantastic to watch him
Yeah.
through August. That was a crazy run.
That
I think
no-hitter
he's
run
pitching on
too.
Tuesday, and I'm actually going to go to the game.
Nice.
Through my work, they got some free tickets. So I'm going to watch Bowden Francis. Uh, Hopefully pitch well. He pitched decently against Philadelphia yesterday. Seemed like got home runs kind of bit him a bit, but I do like Francis. I'd say other than like Gosman, he's like the best pitcher the Blue Jays have right now. Even then, Gosman hasn't really been too hot this year.
Yeah, they've been super weird because for a while, it seemed like the Blue Jays might have figured something out a little bit. Like they brought in Robbie Ray. Obviously, we know what happened there when the Cy Young. You brought in Jose Barrios. You guys turned him around when he came over in the second half. Kevin Gausman, you turned him around. Even like a guy like Bowden Francis right now. But then you've seen some dudes take some step back, it feels like, as well, like Alek Manoah. And granted, he's a totally different animal, but he just has not been able to even come close to the success he had in his first season up with Toronto. And it feels like they're not able to kind of push any of these guys through right now. Like they've just hit a severe stopping point where it comes to like talent and talent development. Do you think that's just because the players that have been coming up through the system, or just in general, maybe the coaching? Is there something that's sticking out to you as to why this might be happening?
I know last year like they just outperformed basically every metric. So I guess comparing it to last year, it could just be simple regression. The defense is still great. I guess their outfield defense kind of declined a bit since Kiermaier's not there anymore. But last year they were leading basically every defensive metric. Um, every pitcher except Manoah basically was healthy. They pitched like they stayed healthy. This year, Gosman missed the first few weeks of the year. Basically had no spring training, which could definitely still be impacting him. Bassett, I think Bassett he's just Bassett. I don't really have much else to say there. He's reliable, but again, I didn't think he was going to be all that like top of the line starter, but he's really good like number 3, number 4 guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's also pitching in the upcoming series, and I'm sure Mets fans are familiar with him. And Barrios as well. He's I don't think he's missed a start in his career, which is absolutely fascinating. I think just what we're seeing now is probably closer to what their outcome is. They're like 50th percentile outcome. They're just like low three, I guess high 3 ERA pitchers. Gosman was kind of unfortunate. I just think maybe he's just getting older now. Velocity is kind of dipping. The pitch shapes just aren't there. But hopefully someone like Bowden Francis, they can get Jake Bloss, just Savage, and whenever Ricky Tiedemann stays healthy, gets up, and hopefully they can have some, I guess, stronger rotation. But for now, I'm not too confident in the rotation to do like super well, but I think I'm pretty okay just having it next year and kind of running it back, because I definitely do think this year, riddled by injuries and one of the worst bullpens in the league, definitely is not helping them out.
With the Blue Jays, you say you think probably running it back. What gets them back to the playoffs? What puts the Blue Jays back in the mix? Like, how do they compete for the AL East? How do they get into a wild card spot? What goes right for them that went wrong this year that gets them there?
I think this year it's just, all right, next year they just need a bullpen. I think next year like, they can just keep the current team, because since the All-Star break, they've been pretty effective. Their starters have been all right. The hitting has been much better. The bullpen, I'm not sure how Zach Pop is still on the team. Every time he pitches, he just gets blown up. It's unfortunate because he kind of grades out well in my model. I'm like, come on, please. This is the day. Please, you can do it. But every time, I think there was one game they were up by like 4, and then they in the 9th inning and they lost. I'm like, are you kidding me again? But yeah, so I think just next year they gotta replace the bullpen with just something else. I don't know. It's just this, whatever they have right now is not working. As terms of like manager, the GM, I think you can keep them. I don't think they've really made too many terrible moves, bad moves. There were some moves that I didn't really agree with, like signing Justin Turner, like IKF. I guess they kind of got a win there because they were able to trade him away,
Flip them.
and he's been dreadful on Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I just looked at his numbers today. I think it's like a 54 WRC
You guys
plus.
I feel like got an interesting minor league infielder too for that, right? I can't remember.
We got
off the top of my head.
McAdoo. It
Yeah,
was McAdoo, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Charles
So
Charles
like,
McAdoo.
yeah, like
Charles
I think they
McAdoo.
decent trades at the deadline, especially the Kikuchi one.
Yeah.
I felt like they got pretty good value out of that. The other trades were more minor, which makes sense. Like you're selling like a 40-year-old Justin Turner, you're probably not going to get much.
No.
The Danny Jansen trade. Like I think they were able to replenish their farm, and they still got some good pieces back, like Joey Locrifito, Will Wagner. They're currently in the majors right now, so they could hopefully be maybe an effective bench bat next year. So I think they have kind of those like role pieces to play in with a healthy Vlad, a healthy Bichette, and hopefully Springer kind of turns it around a bit. I think as right now they could be like without that bullpen, like think bullpens don't exist for a second.
Yeah.
I think they could be probably at least vying for a playoff spot at least next year. And
Yeah.
just so other than that, it's not fun watching them this year, of course. But at least the young guys are up and they're actually giving them some leeway and letting them perform.
Yeah, we went through a similar season last year with the Mets, where it's just like, oh my god, this just has to end. Like everything went wrong. It felt like everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. It's just like get rid of every single piece you can at the deadline, bring anything you can back, and just almost like flush the pain. Like sometimes flushing the pain while still keeping some core and some leaders, you can still find a way to bounce back, like the Mets have. But you mentioned Zach Pop and your model. I want to talk to you about your model, your work, Twitter, everything. How did you decide to start making this baseball content? Because it happened, you started, but I found you last season, towards the middle of last season. I remember because it was baseball and hockey. This is interesting. You had really good graphics. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. I remember telling Mark about you and like tracking your stuff, and I cited you a lot, especially with spring training stuff that we were doing on this show, because you had the great spring training stuff plus that wasn't that readily available. So what's your background with this kind of data and modeling, and how/why did you start making baseball content?
Yeah, so I'm a civil engineer by trade, so I've always loved maths and sciences. And even like when I was younger in high school, I just play around in like Microsoft Excel to just make little
Wow.
graphs, like tables and graphs. I just found it fun. Like I used to play hockey when I was younger. I love watching baseball. My dad um, loved watching baseball. I vividly remember watching on the VHS tapes the 92 and 93 World
Yeah,
Series. Like we just sit down and
that's
watch it
awesome.
together. And I just remember that. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, and I loved it. And then I guess as I went through my university studies, I kind of picked up more on data science, data analytics, and coding as well. So taking a few courses in that. And I was like, okay, I'm interested in hockey. I'm interested in the math, the science behind all the analytics. And now I have kind of this coding background. Let's kind of go at it. I actually kind of started with hockey, really just fantasy hockey.
Yeah.
So making those like kind of player cards, projections in that realm there. And then it wasn't until kind of last year, I guess the start of the 2023 MLB season, I started moving towards baseball data. I kind of always had an interest in it. Like I would always like peruse Baseball Savant. But I wasn't really diving deep into like the play-by-play or the pitch-by-pitch data sets. But I'm like, okay, let's take a look at this. And lo and behold, I just gravitated towards it. I'm grabbed onto basically like all the data I could, looking at Baseball Savant, using like Pi Baseball, fan graphs, and I guess working towards and kind of developing my skills in producing graphics, which I think are both nice to look at and also very informative. And that's kind of where I came from and what I continue to do. And lately I've been kind of publishing my work like publicly so other people can take a look at it and also play around with it themselves, because I don't think I have the best work and my coding probably isn't the most efficient. So maybe others could take a look at it and maybe help out and give me some advice. And I've definitely learned a lot from others, I guess, in the space. And they're all very helpful. Like it's actually amazing how like helpful and how open the community is just to like support others, like how supportive it is for everyone. And it seems like no one's like stepping on each other's toes or trying to like shut anyone down. It just feels like someone has something cool, they'll just like echo it around and everyone will hear about it sooner or later. And I think that's just really awesome.
And again, if you guys don't know, James said it 100 times on the show, but at TJ Stats on Twitter, that's where you can find his stuff. Thomas, you're eventually, I'm assuming you want to get into like working in a front office at some point. Is that the ultimate goal with doing this? Or is this just simply like, I love baseball. I love the stats. I love all this data. I'm just going to do this for fun.
So basically, when I started, that was the goal, like working with a front office team. I've had actually like interviews with front offices. I've had teams reach out to me as well, sometimes not related to a position, but mostly just to get to know me more, which is always cool to see.
Pick your brain, get free advice.
Yeah, be like a consultant for them. But yeah, but other than that, like, yeah, it's like that would be something that I am interested in. It's now weighing, is it worth it for me to go work with the front office? Because I do like the work I do on Twitter. I at the start of the year I had 4,000 followers, and now I'm at 25,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, what the heck? And people know me, people reference me,
People
and
know you.
yeah. So I'm like, this is cool. Well, people know me. I hopefully for good reasons. I know lately there might be some.
It's
I
the
might have angered Yankees fans here, Red
catch
Sox
probability.
fans there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a whole different whole different beast
For
there.
backstory for people, Thomas again loves data, loves the granular aspects of baseball. Something amazing that Baseball Savant does is every single ball that gets put in play, they put a catch probability on it. And with that, sometimes our eyes can deceive us watching baseball. And we've learned that over the years as more stats come out. Things like WRC plus, OAA, we see that things that we see sometimes not exactly how things are in a baseball field. For some people, that's kind of hard to grasp. And that kind of takes shots at like their own, I don't know, the things in their heart, the things in their mind, the things in their soul. So Thomas had a thing for a while, which you did, I believe, fully innocently and innocuously, where you would take a diving catch, like a jumping play, and you would just repost the Baseball Savant catch probability. And there was the one play, I believe it was Cedar Rafaela, where he made a leaping catch against the wall in the outfield. And it was probably a ball that most center fielders catch. Just he took a weird route to it. He took a weird jump they might not need to take. So it looked amazing. Thomas said it had like something like a 90% catch probability. And that insinuated a firestorm of Red
That
Sox fans and old baseball lifers into his mentions. And it
and
was,
Jankowski too. Jankowski robbing it. They robbing
yeah,
the home run the other night, like
yeah,
95% catch probability. And people were like, I'm gonna freak out. I'm going crazy. Like
yeah.
I think now you're probably playing into it a little bit more than it originally was, right? Because it's gotta be. I mean, I love doing it. I'm sure you got a little bit of a taste of it. You're like, this is fun to get some people riled up.
Yeah, there was when I did the Sedane Rafaela one. That one definitely innocuously. I didn't think it was gonna pretty much rile anyone up. It's just what it said, and like even the people from Baseball Savant, Mike Petriello, Tom Tango, they were chiming in. They're like, "This, yeah, he ran like the crazy. He ran like a loop. Like what? Why is he doing that?" And but Red Sox fans were like, "Just enjoy the play," and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really nice catch. It just I play any center fielder would typically make. So
Yeah.
they kind of take it as shots at themselves. And then I think the one that I definitely knew was probably going to cause a bit more of a ruckus was that Aaron Judge
Yeah.
robbing the home run. I kind of knew what I was doing there, but also it's just a number. I shared the number. I didn't share any
No.
opinion about it.
So
I shared the
simple.
number. I shared the graph, the source. And that caused everyone to now hate catch probability. There's now that's I'm sorry, Baseball Savant, if I ruined years of work that you've kind of built up on it. But yeah, it's a cool metric specifically for the Aaron Judge play. The any pretty much any home run robbery. The model probably isn't going to do that well because the model can't accurately locate the pitch to the nearest inch, the ball to the nearest inch, and that's pretty much what you have to do when you're like looking at timing of a jump in a play like that. So it's basically just saying the ball out of wall is caught like 95% of the time without considering like the timing aspect of it. I also think people kind of underestimate how I guess that it's like or like underestimate like how easy it is to catch a ball or like rob a home run. Like sometimes it look really cool, but I think most center fielders are trained to kind of catch those balls.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe it's not 90%, maybe it's closer to like 75, 60%. But I don't think it's like zero. Like people are like, it's a 5% chance. I'm like, I see Dalton Varsho make this play once a week.
Yeah.
I think other players have the capability of doing this.
Yeah. The
So
people
yeah.
that are in in center field in Major League Baseball field. I think people forget they're in like the 99.999 percentile of being able to track a fly ball with their eyes and get to that spot with their legs. They're that good. But I also think you mentioned that like you were sorry like to the baseball savant, but you did that great thread right after this whole firestorm where you did like step by step how catch probability is calculated. And then you have the people who literally created the stat, Tom Tango, Mike Petriello, quote tweeting you and replying to you like, this is amazing work. Like that has to be pretty, that's be just such like a warming feeling to you that these people made the stat, you're explaining the stat, and they're like, you just did this really well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I find that to be definitely one of the best feelings, I guess, when when on Twitter. Like, of course, like players messaging me, managers, coaches, all that stuff, and just interacting with the scene is definitely great. But again, when you have people like Tom Tango, Mike Petriello, who create these metrics, share the metrics, and they're the reason why Baseball Savant exists. Basically, they're telling me that thank you, this was good. Thank you for doing this. Like I agree with all your points. And Tom, he's very active on Twitter, and he just loves baseball, loves statistics. Sometimes he's a little harsh coming off of it, but I think it's just more of his nature. I don't think he means in anything negative. It's just more like getting, I guess, his opinion and just sharing his thoughts on things. But yeah, he's super helpful. He's very kind as well. It's just, again, it's a very definitely great feeling when the people that kind of I look up to a bit kind of tell me that this is good work.
Now, you said you've had some players and maybe even teams reach out to you. Is there any player that you can mention that has reached out to you that you were particularly like taken back by?
It was actually like, even this was like in spring training. Tariq Skubal reached out to me, which I was shocked.
Holy
I was
shit.
like, what? Oh my God. Because he was wondering, I shared one of his pitching summaries, and he just had like a question about it, and they asked me about my model, and I sent him the article I wrote on it. And I was like, oh my goodness, what the heck?
And now he's going to win the Cy Young.
So yeah, and now he won the Cy. So is there a correlation? Maybe.
That's like you get in the closing credits for Terry Skubal Cy Young. Yeah.
So he's I think he's very into stuff like I guess like pitch models and stuff like that. I know he's talked to Lance Brisdowski. I think he was at the All-Star game. But like a lot of different pitchers. I've had someone, it wasn't directly, but someone mentioned to me that Garrett Cole like sees my stuff and uses my stuff too, which is
Pretty sick.
another Cy Young winner. I don't follow me, you might win a Cy Young.
Yeah.
That's like that's the whole story here. But yeah, I have a few other, like Jeff Hoffman follows me.
A lot of good pitchers.
Really good pitchers, yeah.
Like Tyler Zuber as well. I guess he got traded to the Mets.
Yeah,
when he was on Tampa Bay, he messaged me, he asked me. Yeah, so like they messaged me and like see like they're just ask me questions and whatnot, bounce stuff off, and it's just cool to see. So they're just interested in pitching models. Like they want to improve, and that's one way to do it is looking at the analytics. And I think a lot of like old time baseball fans don't kind of understand that like numbers are just information. Like analytics is just telling you like what you can improve on, and these pitchers just all they want to do is improve and do better and perform well, and they're doing it for the fans. So I don't know why the fans would be upset at that.
Yeah, I just think what you do it so well. Just to give you a lot of credit for a second, again, guys, TJ stats. Basically, every single starting pitcher that pitches every single day, and a smattering of relievers. Thomas will have this beautiful daily pitching summary for them, where he shows where they pitched lefties, where they pitched righties, graph with an X and Y axis that shows the movement on every single pitch, and then every single piece of data you could possibly need for every single pitch on the bottom, including its IVB, its horizontal break, its spins, RPMs, the extension they had on the pitch, and then his own stuff plus on it. So with your own model, you mentioned before, just maybe the last one, then we'll do a few things about the Mets and let you go here. But is there anything that you think, any particular pitcher, any particular pitch that you think you've tried to calibrate your model and just can't get this guy, this pitch, this like set of pitches the way you want it to?
The big one is definitely Chris Sale. He has like his pitch shapes aren't the most, I guess, crazy, like the most like elite, as you would say, but his delivery, the way he's gonna win the NL Cy Young this year. Like I'm not even gonna question that unless like Wheeler throws like 3 perfect games in a row or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Chris Sale, that would be insane.
I'd win a fantasy baseball championship, hands down, if that happens. But yeah.
So like Chris Sale, his delivery is just it's just hard to capture because we don't have in the public data we don't have like arm angles. We can't accurately we have to estimate them. And again, some pitchers like as an example, Tyler Rogers, he has that submarine release, but he also like torques his body and rotates it like like crazy. Like his whole body just like contorts in a way like you. This pictures don't move like this. So like, and Chris Sale is sort of like that. Like his body's just kind of weird when he pitches. Like the way his arm slide, how his whole body just like he kind of whips the ball basically.
Yeah.
So kind of it's just difficult to capture. Logan Gilbert, Logan Gilbert is more of just like a super outlier. He has some crazy extension in his pitches, and I'm definitely going to tinker my model in the trying to figure out how to manage something like these crazy outliers. Logan Gilbert has like almost 8 feet of extension,
Jeez.
which and he just like added an extra few inches this year too. So I'm like, what's like the model's basically saying I've never seen this before.
Yeah.
I don't like it. We're just gonna give it like sometimes it gives them a good grade and sometimes not. So it's more just like understanding like what the model is telling you and kind of using that in the analysis. Because like I know Chris Sale is one of the best pitchers in baseball. My model doesn't say that, but I know it. So and I try and explain to others why Chris Sale isn't grading out well, or other people would say like, why is Shota Managa? He just threw a no hitter yesterday. Why is his model, or are his grades not that great? Well, he is a low velocity pitcher. He also has kind of a low release point, and again, just all these different factors which are difficult to capture in a stuff model, just using the pitcher's movement and even the release point. But you can't really add in that deception factor, which is definitely one thing that I know, like Saris has talked about it a lot. Lance Rostowski, kind of, it's just hard to quantify it. Like as a batter, you can kind of understand deception. Like you can see how the pitcher's arm slot changes, or like how long it takes the pitcher to release the ball. But on the granular level, with the data we have in the public sense, on Baseball Savant, we don't have kind of like their arm length, or I guess their pitching arm length, or kind of like the same thing as the swing length for batters.
We almost don't even have any player in baseball's actual size, like their height and weight. Because I love that a lot of these guys, especially the ones who come from the international signing period, these guys are measured when they're 16 years old. And you have players. Ryan Mauricio debuted last year. I think Baseball Reference said he was 190 pounds or 185 pounds.
Way less. I think he was listed at
160?
160, which is the same amount that I weighed at the time. And then Oswaldo Cabrera, when he came for the Yankees, was listed at 135. I'm like, there's no way I have 35 pounds on this dude. There's not a shot. He's a professional baseball player who's taller than me. There's no way. Yeah. So it is funny to see, like, and just talking to guys too. They're like, oh yeah, no one, we fill in the papers, whatever we want. Like it's, if they ask us, I'll tell them, but no one's coming in and checking your height, checking your weight kind of thing.
And it's just funny to think about the butterfly effect of all this data becoming public, the public becoming much more skilled with accessing and then applying the data. And someone like you has this very public pitch model, 25,000 followers on Twitter, players reaching out to you, and like the trickle down from MLB not updating their sizes of players on their database gets back to your model not being able to properly assess extension on a pitcher and how that will affect the way pitches are perceived. That's funny. That's a really funny thing. But transition, last few minutes here. I want to talk about the Mets a little bit. I told you to get ready to bring some Mets stuff for me. Do you have any little pitching nuggets, minor league, major league, bullpen, starting pitchers, anything fun for Mets fans to hear about? Any pitchers in the org?
Well, I think Paul Blackburn is coming back this week.
Yeah.
And his AAA outings were decent.
Okay.
At one point, he pitched 6 2/3 innings. Looked like he's throwing the cutter more, kind of as he was doing after he got traded. So I'm kind of interested to see how he does when he gets back. His first, I guess, when he was with the Mets for the first part, it wasn't the greatest outings, but hopefully he can be a serviceable 4th or 5th starter for them. I know Jonah Tong, he's been he just got promoted to AA, which is very fascinating and really good. His fastball is amazing. Like I wish I had all the minor league data on him. I only have his single A data, and he just was so good in single A that they're like, screw it. bring you up to high A right away. I think he was like 20 innings or so in single A,
I
and he
think
was
he's only
striking out like 50% of the guys or
yeah,
whatever.
and
So
he might
like,
still been 20
like
years old at the time of that promotion too, or maybe just turned 21 or something like that.
yeah, so him again showing like him being a 21-year-old in double A, kind of showing that fast track, which is always encouraging to see um, for pitchers and
Yeah,
really any prospect really. A few other pitchers kind of just made their Mets debut. Single A was Will Watson, and then
USA.
Brendan Gurdon. I think that's how you
Yeah,
pronounce his
Curtin.
name. Watson, he's looking all right. I got some data on him here: 95-mile-an-hour fastball, 70-inch IVB, a pretty low release slot. So the data on the fastball looks pretty encouraging. Um, Again, just as he gets more pitches, it'll be more. The larger the sample, the better. But from what it is, Will Watson seems to be a uh, pretty good pickup for them. And honestly, it was a seventh round pick, I think. So
Hmm.
uh, honestly, if you're getting a pitcher that's already producing well and has good data to back it up in the seventh round, why
great.
not? I think Mets fans should be excited about that. And then Brendan Gurdon, 10th round pick. Um, his pitch data looks even better than Will Watson's, which is also very encouraging to see. Again, I think um, I just love how the Florida State League has
So cool.
Statcast.
Yeah.
I know from what I've heard, it's because they were testing, I guess, the ABS system. They're doing
Yeah.
testing in the Florida State League, and they're also doing
Mhm.
testing in AAA. So hopefully, this is fingers crossed, that if they apply, and they should definitely do it, add the ABS system or some type of balls and strike system in MLB, it's just gonna have to trickle down, and every single minor league team
Yeah, of Statcast.
has to have it too, just because
Yeah.
they're gonna have to develop and throughout their career and use it. And I guess they'll probably also do testing. They'll always start in the minor leagues and then apply to the majors. So hopefully soon, I'm not sure when, all the minor league leagues will have this. One thing that would be really cool if the half season or the short season ones, like the the
DSL.
summer leagues,
Yeah.
Complex, yeah.
have have this
Jeez.
too, but that's like the backfield. I don't know if
Yeah,
it'll
that'll
ever
be like
have
the
that.
Oppenheimer meme too, because then we'll just know too many things about like 16-year-old kids and be like, "This is we can't." I
Can't
don't want
trade
to.
him.
Yeah, I said I can't. I don't want to know that every single guy's 112-mile-an-hour exit velocity. I won't be able to happy with anything that happens. But that's a fun world to be in. I know a friend of our podcast, Isaac Grofman. He goes to school in Binghamton. He said he's going to the Tong debut. That's going to be tonight. We're recording on Thursday. He's charting every single pitch by hand. So
Nice.
he told me he'll get me that stuff. So maybe I'll send it over to you, see if we can put some data on it. But I think that's all we got.
I got
Mark, you
one
got
more
anything?
question. Yeah, I
All
saw
right.
on your Twitter, large Pokemon nerd. Who's your favorite Pokemon not from the original 151?
Oh, I actually have. Wait, let me grab it.
All right,
Where is
yes,
it?
let's go.
From
Freaking
was it
Pokemon guys.
last year or 2 years ago, my friend got me this thing. It is. I'm not
Whoa.
sure if you can see it. It is
Wow.
like a glass Pokeball that is Crobat inside.
Oh,
I'm not sure if
nice.
you can see the Crobat, but
Yeah.
Crobat is my favorite. Is definitely my favorite. He is not part of the 151. He is an evolution of
Yep.
them. From the 150, Crobat is my favorite overall. I'd say a close second would be like Lapras,
Okay.
who is from the 151. My favorite starter is Snivy.
Whoa.
And just I have a bunch of Pokemon plushies in my room. I like collecting them. Um, so yeah, just a big Pokemon fan. Maybe I'll tweet more about Pokemon in the off season
That's
when there's
next.
just
Hockey, baseball, Pokemon
Pokemon.
data now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need some giraffe rig stats. That's my boy. That's my number one guy, of course, is a
Is that
giraffe
because
man.
this giraffe?
Yeah,
I
of
sent
course.
Mark a data visualization from Jacob B STL the other day about how arm angle stuff affects I think affects IVB on fastballs, and the visualization looked just like a Magikarp. I'll send it to you after this, Thomas, because it looks I was like, I think it was a little late at night, so I was like, having some fun, but I was like, this is Magikarp. I can't believe this is Magikarp, but that was good. That was a good closer. Nice question,
Good
Thomas.
closer. Yeah, there
Yeah,
you go.
thank you a lot. Tell everyone where to find you again. Plug your stuff.
you can find me on Twitter at TJ Stats. I have a Patreon where you can access a bunch of cool web apps I've made. So basically, everything I share on Twitter, on my feed, is generated through those apps. Um, and if you guys are interested in fantasy hockey, I will likely post a bit there. I was considering even making a second account because now my account's basically all
baseball, yeah.
baseball. But if you're interested in fantasy hockey stuff too, you can follow me on Twitter, support me on Patreon. I'll be hopefully continuing modeling stuff and sharing more work and more articles. I definitely want to get more data and more stuff out there and just share knowledge with others,
Yeah.
including just like supporting the community, because I guess lately I've been kind of like echoing other people's work, and
No, you've been
people have
good. It's been good.
Yeah, you're good.
yeah,
Don't
so
stress it.
I really enjoyed it. It was great being on the show today.
Yeah, dude. Thank you. Thank you again, everyone. Make sure you follow Thomas at TJ Stats. Truthfully, probably right now the best account on baseball Twitter. Makes baseball Twitter a better place. Excited to keep having access to your data until you eventually work in a front office. So we're happy to have you while we got you. Thanks again, dude.
Thank you very much.
All right. Big shout out to Thomas. Very dense, thorough preview of the Blue Jays. Also, he's a hell of a guy, and his Twitter account's amazing. Again, at TJ Stats. You guys should be following him. Pitching recaps every single day that literal Major League Baseball players are paying attention to, which he said that, Mark.
Derek Skubal.
Your eyes bugged out of your head. You're like, what players ask you that? And then he goes, Derek Skubal and Garrett Cole. We're like, are you fucking kidding me? The back-to-back defending AL Cy Young winners pay attention to your pitcher. Imagine... I'm happy for Thomas because I've been following him for a while, and he's just such a good dude. He's so fucking nice. Like, he's such a good person. I love that he's having the success.
I forgot when McNeil DM'd me when I tweeted out like a couple of years ago about what he was doing, hitting differently,
Mechanics.
and he was like, "You figured it out, man. Thank you." And I was like, "Oh my god!" Like, I couldn't imagine.
That was an OG Mets up story. That was like our 4th ever episode.
Yeah, and McNeil was like, "You fixed my hitting, thank you." And I'm like, "Wow, he's fixing Derek Skubal and Garrett Cole. Not there's a fixing to be had, but that's pretty cool." You got a little media marvel though, you said, right?
Yeah, a little media marvel. Again, for the new listeners here, usually how we structure this podcast in the past, things are going to change in the future once we get this new episode structured out. But the midweek episode, we would do a prospect report where we kind of run you guys down the Mets minor leaguers, tell you who's doing good, who's doing bad, just like a dense overhaul. Overhaul? That's not the word. Overview. A dense overview. There you go. And then like about every 2 months, we'll drop our own top 10, top 20, top 30 prospects. A couple of those are on our YouTube channel or in the back of this podcast. You guys want to search back, scroll back a little bit, and listen. I think about a month ago, our top 25 prospects. Really good listen. But the weekends we do media marvels, where we just shout someone out in the media. A lot of times it's baseball media just for a take that they had or something that was said here and there back in the day. I have one, just a quick one I want to do from everyone's favorite radio host, Salicata, saying he saw enough of Mark Vientos. There's no reason this guy should be getting regular at-bats for this team. That was from January. So again, shout out Sal for that take. Good thing.
Wait, he tweeted that in January?
January. I sent it to you. I have the exact tweet somewhere.
What did he see in January that he'd seen enough?
Well, from the last few years, someone DM'd to me. I lost it. I thought it was my bookmarks.
That day, he was like, "Let me say something crazy."
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but it's just that's why we have this segment, Media Marvel. It's just to keep people in the media on track here a little bit. But I want to go to football for this because this was football weekend. Sunday was the first full day of NFL football. 2 seconds of football here, guys. First day of NFL football. Mark Scott's Commanders jersey on. Shout out Jaden Daniels. Pretty good debut. I'm wallowing for my Jets tomorrow night. I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to think. I'm sad. I can't.
Yes.
It's the worst relationship of my life. They're going to hurt me again. I just can't wait for it to happen. They're going to get me excited again, then absolutely kill me, put me in the dirt. But we'll talk about Tom Brady for 2 seconds. He made his announcing debut. What? $200-300 million contract for Fox without ever calling a game. And I got to say, pretty underwhelming from Tommy Boy over there on the call.
I think you could definitely tell it was his first time on the mic.
Yeah, and again, so hard. I did a high school game a few years ago with my buddy Reed in Ohio, where he was doing the color and I was going to do some analysis. So hard to do like color play-by-play anything during a game. Hard. I give everyone credit a lot for this. Shout out boy Matt, cousin Matt, shout out Keith Rad. But hopefully listen to this. But announcing is hard. Tom Brady, I'll say it right now, he wasn't very good. I think there's a good chance he gets a little bit better, but that was the game sucked too. It was boring as hell.
Boring game.
Deshaun Watson, terrible. What a piece of shit. Hate that guy to the death. But Tom Brady stunk. Really bad. I was gonna say Tom Brady very bad. They're one of the worst contracts in football.
Who could be the worst contract in football? I like that take. I like that. All right. And James is also salty because Brady's the GOAT. Patriots. He's got
I respect Tom Brady, but I spent my entire youth watching Tom Brady I decimate the Jets. He got so far past the point of the Jets where I didn't care anymore about him being the Jets because it was such different sports they were playing. But I think everyone just thought Tom Brady was going to waltz in there and be elite, and he really wasn't. Also, shout out our boy Kevin Burkhardt on the call with him.
Shout out KB, the legend. All right. We got a couple reviews to read from you guys here as we wrap up the episode again. New people that are coming in from Foul Territory Network and everything. Appreciate you. At the end of the episode, we read out reviews that you guys leave on Apple Podcasts. It's just a little shout out for giving us a review and helping support the podcast. This one comes from Antonio Zingaropoli. That's a really Italian last name. All right. Amazing show. Plus, hi, Mark and James, 5 stars. Hi, Mark and James. Antonio Z from Staten Island here. Don't worry,
Hey.
I'm not one of those annoying Staten Island fans. Been watching Mark since the MLB The Show days of 2017 and been watching this show from the very near beginning as well. I look forward to the YouTube format video dropping after every single series conclusion. Love the realism and takes on the team, as sometimes I get ahead of myself and believe too hard, so I need you guys to bring me back a bit. James, your analysis is great, and I think you'd be just as successful of a YouTuber as Mark. Relax. If you put your analysis to video form.
I don't think I can compare jerseys like Mark does or do quizzes. I'm not there.
I'm the best. That's what it is. Mark, love the videos, especially the buy or sell. Love the show. I've been watching for a long time and will be watching for a long time. Anyways, it was nice talking to you guys, and I hope you have a great day. AZ. Thank you, Antonio.
Sweet. Thank you. I got another one here from Rex, OMG LFGM 2.0. Leaving another review as my first one got skipped. I don't know. I don't think we skipped any reviews. I really think we're on top of this stuff.
It's a little faulty sometimes.
Yeah, something. Apple, we don't know. But I'm jazzed about the Mets winning 7 straight as I was after they beat the pants off the Yanks back in July. I listen to every episode. I especially look forward to the ones after series like this one. I shifted through several Mets podcasts after my favorite one went down and dark, and Messed Up was far and away my favorite. I still enjoyed it when it was a company podcast. We're back. I love the newfound freedom the boys have now as they're independent. As a transplant to Denver. We're ready to rumble, though. We're pumped about Foul Territory. As a transplant to Denver, the pod keeps me up on what's going on in Queens and how the farm system's looking. Keep up the good work and the swearing. Thank you, Rex. That's fucking great. P.S. Funny story. Until I started following Mark on Twitter, I thought he signed off saying his handle was Draft Nick Mark, and a shout out to his affinity for the MLB draft. LOL. That's kind of funny.
Interesting. I guess I do say like giraffe, probably like if you're not from here, draft.
Yeah.
I've thought about that. All right. New York accent. There you go.
Authentic.
And that's it for our first episode being a part of the Foul Territory Network. Again, super excited to bring you guys even more content than we have been. Keep an eye out. Make sure you follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to the Mets'd Podcast YouTube channel so you can see the video version of this. And if you are listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, drop us a rating, drop us a review, and most importantly, don't forget to download and subscribe. You Apple people, I better see those Apple numbers going up over there, all right? Thank you guys so much. Yeah, Apple's been slacking. That's all I'm going to say. Follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
And I am Giraffe Neck Mark, and that's Mark with a C. The only right way to spell it.
And one more, of course. Frankie Peppers.
Oh, yeah. Frankie Peppers. Forgot.
Again, for the new listeners, this is going to be bizarre, but we have one of our most loyal listeners, Frankie Peppers. We did a voicemail episode a few months back, and he just left such an electric voicemail. We beckoned to him on the show to leave as many voicemails as he felt comfortable with. And we have an official update on the Red Series from our boy Frankie Peppers. So here's Frankie.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Frankie Peppers. How you doing? James, it was very nice to meet you yesterday at Citi Field. I'm glad that we could spend some time together. Like I've said, I really appreciate you letting me, call and send you Instagrams here. So I'm at a nonprofit event, if you couldn't hear in the background, and I ran into one Mr. Colin Cosell, PA announcer for the Mets. Say hi, Colin.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How about you?
I was doing better until... Are you the reason the Mets lost today?
No, I was there yesterday. They won.
So, all right. Well, good to see you, and let's go Mets.
Let's go Mets. See, I think Colin, because he wasn't at the park, I think Colin is actually the reason we lost today. But either way, awesome series. Even though Lindor struggled at the plate, I don't care. Still MVP. Jose Quintana, 100th win. Lindor, 100th run. Harrison Beta stroking it over the fence. All good, boys. Appreciate you. I will talk to you soon. Let's go Mets. Postseason time.
I didn't have a cameo from our boy Colin on the
that was crazy. You gotta send Colin a text now and be like, "Hey, you met Frankie Peppers?"
I love Colin so much. Colin's such a great guy. PA announced for the Mets. Him and Marisol, the best in the business.
Literally the two best. But yeah, that's Frankie Peppers. Again, all the new people over there. Welcome to the Mets'd experience. Everybody else, nothing's changing. We'll talk to you more often. That's pretty much it. And yeah, I think we're done. Peace out.
Peace out, guys. LFGM. See you next time.